right, we're with BernieKaiser, class of 1980. It looks like you could still play for the Jaguars, Bernie.
Yeah, I don't know if you should overestimate things, but I like to maybe have the folly of the thought, but probably not. So,
Why'd you want to be a part of this documentary? And obviously, Jefferson football is so important in your life.
well, Coach Shea called me and said, "Hey, you want to be part of it?" And I said, "Well, did all the good players say no?" And I was surprised. We were just talking about a Miller Lite ad where a gentleman named Marv Throneberry was included with all these genuine sports celebrities, and there was Mickey Mantle and Dick Butkus, and then Marv Throneberry sitting at the end of the bar saying, "I still don't know why they asked me to do this ad." So it's kind of the way I feel, but I welcome the opportunity. And thank you all for including me. It was a very powerful time in my life, and I have some stories and anecdotes I'm hoping I can tell just to kind of emphasize that or illustrate it.
Yeah, you were saying one of the people that was very influential in your life at that time was Rich Bird.
Yeah.
Just talk about him.
Yeah, Coach Bird. Yeah. Kind of a prince of a guy. And, I mean, if you want me to go off for a little bit, I can. And I kind of had thought about some things I'd like to say. This is almost in a way kind of a eulogy for me to give. And, just to kind of say, hey, this is the way it went. So I kind of need to give a little context before any of these things seem relevant. So just bear with me a bit. So anyway, I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and I'm from Belle Plaine, Minnesota. And my dad, and hold on, I got to back up. I have to say that as I get older, oddly, I seem to get more emotional, and I speak publicly a lot. And when it's very heartfelt, I kind of lose it sometimes. So if I start blubbering, I apologize in advance. So anyway, so my family's from Belle Plaine, Minnesota. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. Dad is big into Belle Plaine football, along with a guy named Don Montbryant, and you'll hear his name again. I'm born in June of 1963, and my dad is a local doc, and he gets called for to deliver a baby in New Prague, drives to New Prague. On the way home, he passes a car where I would never pass and has a head-on collision, and my dad dies. So I grew up in a house where, I don't have a lot of, maybe support's the wrong word, but there's not a lot of patriarchal or just a male figure around.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to Bloomington, and I am really engaged in football. I like it, and I'm not really set up to play it, as a kid. So I go on, Coach Shea was talking about the camp that my mom sent me to, and continue to play, but I don't really see the field a whole lot. And it's my passion, but it's not like I'm get on the field very much. So I get to be a freshman in high school, and we have a camp. Bruno Walder's there, and I don't have a pair of cleats. So they say, everybody go get cleats. Well, things are pretty tight around my house. So I go through the Jefferson locker room, and I find a pair of black cleats. And I put them on, and I don't know, it was Jake Lynch, and I think Bruno Waldner were there, and I see them talking, and they're looking at my black cleats, which incidentally, I had taken white shoe polish and tried to make them white cleats, all right? And I see them talking, and lo and behold, I get a new pair of cleats out of the deal. And as a kid, I never had that, a male figure take interest in me at all right? So I'm like, holy crap, all right? So I play wide receiver as a sophomore, and I mean, there's talk, at least maybe they're like going to have a chat with me and say, this really isn't your cup of tea. Because as Bruno said, you have hands like cucumbers, all right? So I was like, all right. So I get moved to offensive guard, and I become one of Dick Bird's charges, all right? And, maybe I get in on kickoff coverage, but, really that's it. So I get to my senior year, and Bruno talks about this at our senior banquet. He says, when we had weigh-in, you had two Mackinaws on and like weights stuck in your pocket. And I mean, it was an exaggeration because I only had ankle weights on to weigh in, and I weighed 161 pounds. And that was being generous, all right? So I'm slated to try to play offensive guard. And yeah, you know, but lo and behold, at my senior year, Coach Bird says, get in there. You know what? Yeah, you're our guard. And I was mystified at it. The notion that he really took a chance. But he saw that it was my desire. I was totally involved. You know what? And he let that happen. You know, and just that vote of confidence and how it's affected me through the rest of my life was silly. You know, I mean, we were playing hamburger, pie squad, or whatever coach wants to call it, and we had a defensive tackle, offensive tackle, linebacker, and a ball carrier. And there's some mix-up, and I'm in the line for the ball carriers. Ball comes back, and I just take off and grab it, kind of delayed. And I mean, I'm linebacker meets me square. I mean, cleats are in the air. I land, and it was bad. All right, so I stand up, and Waldner comes running up and says, "You know what? You don't have the arms and the legs, but you have the heart of an All-American." And to be recognized that way by someone I respected was super powerful. And then I remember another game we were playing Armstrong. We played a sweep play. I think it was like a 46. I was pulling guard. I pulled once, and it was right towards the tower. So in Bloomington Stadium, they had a camera, all right? So if you went towards it, they could really see what you're doing, and when you're on the other corner of the field there, when you did something wrong, they didn't really see it. Anyway, so 50-yard line, I pull out, and I not really missed my block, but it's whatever. We run the same play the second time, and whatever. I take this guy off his cleats, all right? And watching film, and I'm surrounded by my peers, and to have them say, great job, and coming from a kid that really wasn't ever recognized, incredibly powerful stuff. So, then I have another experience that was, we were playing Richfield, and incidentally, we were 7-2, and we lost 2 games by 3 points, and we lost 7-9 to Burnsville, and kicked a field goal at the end of the game. They called no good, but later in game film, so we watched it. And it was good, and I walked off the field, and I was distraught. And I get out, in Bloomington Stadium, I walked out, and then kind of just walked out of the light. And then in the dark, Don Monprine is standing there. And he walks up to me, he says, your dad would be very proud of you. I know you played. So, and I think about Dick Bird and the chance he gave me that I really never had when I was a younger guy, and way younger. And I think of how powerful that was. And I mean, I'm incredibly fortunate in life, and people say they've had, great success. But I mean, I've went from starting a business in my basement to now it's a mid-market company. And I've had a lot of luck, but I've had some hard times. And to go back to Jefferson football and to think about the chance that Mr. Bird gave me, It's been incredibly powerful. And it gave me perseverance and the ability to kind of pull through some really difficult situations in my life. So I'm eternally grateful to that, and I was excited for this deal too to say, and I don't know where you guys are at, but I think when people pass, they're still around us, and to be able to say thank you, sure it is. Yeah, I appreciate the chance.